It's my cat trying to stop me from talking about Katy Perry here. I have to take my headphones off because been listening to Women's World. Let me change the camera here. Hold on. So like a lot of the world here, I've been following Katy Perry's career for a long time. Back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, I remember hearing all these bops. California Girls, TGIF, Teenage Dream, etc. And it always boiled down to one woman, Katy Perry. And I, for years, really enjoyed a lot of her music. So much so, I love her album Teenage Dream is probably one of the best fun pop albums ever made. And specifically, the fact that that album features so many hit singles, and then she released Prism, and people said that was the beginning of the end for her, but it wasn't. I mean, she had some singles off there like Roar, etc. It really wasn't until Witness that she tried to take a change in her music and her career, trying to be purposeful pop and all this other stuff. If you're a fan, you've followed this, and if you're a hater, you followed this. I don't have to go over it, but the most important thing is that she's kind of fallen out of the limelight for, I don't know, what has it been, a couple of years now? Since 2020, she hasn't released music. She just did I mean, I'm talking about this probably, I don't know, 15 minutes later after listening to Women's World about on repeat while I set up all these cameras and I watched the video. I think it's great. And I think a lot of people are going to say it's bad because of a lot of other issues, but they don't want to talk about the fact that it as a single is very good. And I think that's because she has, like, it's her past coming back to bite her. So the fact that she was purposeful pop back on Witness, she tried to like brand herself as that, now that's coming back to bite her with this song. But what they don't realize is she's kind of spitting in the face of that old image. And let me explain what I mean by that. So first of all, it's a return to form in a way, right? We hear that loud bass beats, the way that the pop music sounds. It's very catchy. It's very dated, as people were saying. It's very dated sounding. And it's interesting. I want to get into that later because I think that like it is dated, but not in the way that people think it is. They say like, oh, it's 2015, but I actually think it's more like 1970s disco. But I'll get into that. The most important thing though is that about halfway through the video, if you haven't seen it, you should. It all kind of derails itself. So the beginning is her, you know, being Rosie the Riveter and drinking whiskey and peeing at a urinal, standing up, and all this other stuff. It's very activism-looking, you know, Women's World type stuff that you would expect. Something that, you know, a 2017 Katy Perry would make. But here's the thing. She then subverts that by a literal gigantic, like, anvil, cartoon anvil, like, coming out of the sky and hitting her. And in that way, it's kind of like she's kind of killing her old self in this weird way where she's saying like, yo, that's not me anymore, guys. Like I know that was me, but that's not me anymore. I'm not going to be that person that is this like purposeful pop person. That was a mistake. I understand that. So then the second part, she like gets the robot legs. She gets these like weird robot legs and she's walking around, and that's when the video starts to be a little bit more goofy. She's walking around this like apocalypse and like all this wild stuff going on around her. Instead of like looking at it, she's moving forward with her robot legs, just like going, you know, to the beat of a rhythm, you know, because I think she's realizing that it's never been about like her commenting on social issues. It's about her providing the beats, the pop music. And so her like moving forward to the rhythm, that's showing what she's actually doing. Katy Perry is getting back to her old form of like goofiness and, you know, off the wall and, you know, stuff that she used to do back in the 2010s. And I think the point there is us trying to realize that we're not going to get a social commentary Katy Perry. In a way, that's kind of why I think she went back to work with Dr. Luke. And I know there's all these allegations with Kesha. I don't know what's going on with all of that. And I'm not going to speak to it. But I do think part of it for her is like she wanted to return to form. People have issues with that whole Kesha thing. I'm not going to comment on it, but I do think like in a weird way, it's kind of her getting back to her roots, but also saying like, okay, you know what, this whole social commentary thing, I'm not gonna touch it. Political commentary, I'm not gonna touch it. The Woman's World is kind of like a tongue-in-cheek joke, where it's like, okay, you can look into the meaning that I have here, but that's not what this is about. This isn't about meaning. about political meaning. This is about me returning. And the reason I say that is because at the end of it, she goes and she takes, this person's like, has like a TikTok stand. There's this other woman there that she has a TikTok stand at the end of the video. And she goes up to her while she's like filming and doing like an activism video, I assume. She has like a divine feminine on her shirt. And so actually, it's not even just a TikTok stand, it's like literally a feminine symbol. And Katy Perry takes it from her and just walks away and gets in a helicopter to fly away. And the woman on the ground asks her, like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? And Katy Perry basically yells back, I'm Katy Perry, this is who I am. And what's so funny about all of this is that it is a meta commentary. And what it's a meta commentary about is that she's basically taking over her true form back to where she is. She's going back to where she was before. She's showing that she's not going to do this political stuff. And she did it in a subversive way that is controversial, that has people talking about it, which stirs up more talk about her. In a way, it's honestly pretty devious, pretty smart, and pretty cool. I think the most interesting part is, like, I know it sounds like 2000s, or 2010s, like it sounds very, 2015, I think is what people said. But I think it also sounds very 70s-esque. There's like, it's funny, I was just listening to We Are Family just before I listened to that song, actually. It was fortuitous because it really has that kind of like sound a little bit. It's very disco-y. And I think that, again, I think that's purposeful because I think she's trying to tap into something different that we're not really hearing in music right now, the disco beat. We've heard Charlie's XCX like 2000s club beat stuff, but this is like she's jumping back to the 1970s, which is interesting because that's kind of like, you know, a time in women's liberation and actual feminism. So there's this weird way in which she's like somewhat commenting on the issues, but it's really below the surface. So the music is commenting that it's below the surface. And just like that is happening, she's also, her message is below the surface. And the real message is to her fans. And her fans, she's saying this, guys, I'm back. And yeah, you've gotten shit by being my fan for the past couple of years, and I'm sorry, but I promise you, I'm Katy Perry and I'm back. I do think people have problems with this. I don't know if it will garner an entire recovery for her. I don't know if it'll mean that she inevitably becomes, you know, the biggest pop star and takes Taylor Swift's throne. But I don't think that's what she's going for here. What I think she's going for is nostalgia. I think she's going for a specific base of people in their 30s and 40s, millennials, that are missing that time of that type of pop music. And I think it's really going to hit with that vibe. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that are confused on why she's coming back on the charts because they don't get it. And what they are getting is that big, dumb, fun pop energy that she's bringing back to the table. And yes, even in the video, it's funny, it's big, it's fun, it's dumb, but there's smart layers behind the surface if you know where to look. Those are just my thoughts, though. I'm happy to hear what you guys think. I'm sure I'll get ripped to shreds in the comments telling me how bad this video is and how bad the music is. But to me, I honestly think it's pretty damn good. As far as a pop song goes, it's catchy, it's uplifting, it literally sounds like We Are Family. Brothers and sisters, it's the same thing, man. But it's very similar, but it's like in a way that's just so dope, especially with that pounding bass backbeat. I understand it's not for everyone. There's gonna be a lot of people that rip this to shreds and tell you that it's terrible, and the Dr. Luce stuff and everything, and I understand that. You know, that has its own say in another thing, but I'm just talking about the song itself. The song itself is really good. I'd give this song, I do an 80% out of 100. I think if she can continue this type of music through her album and this kind of layered stuff going on, I think she'll do better as a pop artist. If she wants to get to people purposeful pop-wise, like she wanted to do in 2017, she shouldn't be as in your face. It should be more layered. If she does that, like she's doing here, I think it's pretty smart and it's interesting. So, I don't know. If you haven't listened to it, give it a shot. And if you have thoughts, let me know. And maybe I'll ignore them. Maybe I'll talk to you. If you want to be mean, be mean. Whatever. I don't care. See you later.